Hi, welcome to True Hope Ministries. I'm Pastor Sam Lewis, and I'd like to share with you a little bit about what True Hope stands for. What does True Hope mean? I believe that you will never have true hope until you lose all hope. Now that sounds like kind of an odd statement, really, when you think about it, but you see, I believe that as long as you hold out hope that anything in this life, anything in this universe, in this world, can ever truly satisfy or make you happy, then you'll never have hope in the only thing that really will, and that's eternity. You see, this is a broken, fallen planet, a broken, fallen universe. We're not living it the way God designed for us to live. And because of that, nothing really truly works right, and so it really can't truly satisfy. The only thing that can is eternity. And as long as you keep believing that anything in this life is ever going to make you happy or ever work out right, then you'll never have hope in the only thing that does, and that's eternity. Now, that sounds on its face to be kind of negative thinking. You know, why even bother if nothing here can really work or never work out? And I know you don't know me, but I will tell you, I'm the happiest person I've ever known in my life. And I'm really the world's biggest optimist. I'm the kind of person that if I fell off of a 10-story building, as I passed the second floor, I'd say, safe so far. See, so this is not negative thinking. In fact, it's reality thinking. But it's reality that because we understand what we get, we understand what we're really about, then we can make sense of this broken, fallen world. The problem is that we all play this game, and you can recognize this. You know, it starts when we're really young. You think like this. You start thinking as a child, gosh, if I could just get into junior high school, my life would be great. And then you get into junior high and it's not anywhere close what you thought it was. And then it's, well, if I could just be an 8th grader, that's what would make it all right. And then you get to be an 8th grader and that's not working out like you thought. And then it's if I could just get into high school. And then it's if I could just get the right grades, or if I could make the right team and play the sport that I want to. Then it's if I could just get my driver's license. And then it's if I could just get a job, if I could just get a girlfriend, if I could just get a boyfriend. Then it's, oh, if I could just graduate and get into the right college, then everything would be okay. Then it's if I could just get married, and if I could just have children, and then it's if I could just get the right job, and then if I could just get divorced. It's always something. It's always the next thing, and those things happen, and we're no happier. We are for a time, but ultimately they don't satisfy, and then we're on to the next thing. You know, I'm reminded Nelson Rockefeller was the wealthiest man of his time. He was the Bill Gates of his time, a very wealthy man. And one time a reporter was interviewing him and asked him, Mr. Rockefeller, how much money does it take to make a person happy? And his answer was so profound and so wise. He said, just a little bit more. And isn't that really the way it is? It's always just a little more, if I could just. But we get it, and it really doesn't pay off. We then need more. You know, I got this whole concept of true hope, that you'll never have true hope until you lose all hope. I got that from the story of Jonah in the Bible. You know the story of Jonah. He rebelled against God, and he got swallowed by a big fish. And you know, the Bible says that Jonah was in the belly of that fish for 3 days, still thinking that he could get out, still thinking that he could find a way on his own. And the Bible says that after 3 days, when he had lost all hope, he turned to God. And isn't that the way we are? See, we never really fully trust God. We'll never really turn to God unless there's no other alternative. Because it's counterintuitive. We always believe that we can make it. That if just the next thing happens, that we can make it on our own. And we don't fully trust God. I mean, we believe in Him and He's there and everything, but we don't fully trust Him as long as we have hope that something else might work. You know, it's kind of like the guy that was hanging on the edge of a cliff, and he was about to fall, and he was losing his grip, and he looks up the cliff and he starts screaming, help me, please, somebody, is there anybody up there? Is there anybody up there? And he hears a voice, and the voice says, this is God. Just let go, and I'll catch you, and everything will be okay. And he thinks for a moment, and he looks up and he says, is there anybody else up there? That's the way we are. See, as long as there's a possibility of some other way, we don't want to trust God because it's counterintuitive to what we really think. And And you know, so when I teach the things that I teach, and you'll find on this website many of the things I'm going to teach about God's design. And as I teach that to people, sometimes it is counterintuitive, and they think I'm crazy for some of the things that I teach and what the Bible teaches. And as I teach them these things, sometimes they'll look at me and they'll say, you know, I agree with you. That sounds great, but man, that's just so hard. And I always smile and look at them and say, really? Harder than the alternative? Because the way you're doing it now is working out so good for you? And isn't that strange that we would rather continue the way we're doing it, even though it's not working, even though it's not satisfying, even though it's not giving us what we want, but we would rather continue in what we know, the belief that it might work, rather than trust God, because we don't understand. It's a fearful thing. But you need to understand that compared to eternity, this is really a good deal. This really is an incredible life that we have here. Now think about this. Tell me if this is a good deal. Let's say that God says to you, here's my deal. I want to give to you all of eternity, forever and ever and ever, a place in heaven with no pain, no suffering, no sorrow, everything that you could imagine, everything that you could desire, I'll give it to you, and you could live with me forever and ever and ever with no suffering or no pain. That's the deal. And I'm going to ask of you in return if you would live on the earth for 90 years in absolute daily pain and misery. Would that be a good deal? Now, I'd want to negotiate, but when you think about it, that really is a good deal, because see, this life, if you live for 90 years, that's an eye blink in the scheme of eternity. 90 years of suffering compared to forever and ever and ever with no suffering, that's really a good deal. But you know, the truth is, that's not the deal. Because God didn't ask us to live here for 90 years in total pain and suffering. Because it's a broken world, yes, there is pain, and yes, there is suffering. But God promised to be with us. And when we have our mindset on things above, and we understand that this life is not about us, this life is not for us, that God has a work for us to do here, and at the end of it we get forever, then we truly can have joy in this life. And you're not going to live every day in total pain and suffering. There will be some suffering and some sorrow, but there will also be joy and peace. But it cannot happen till you put 100% of your trust in God and in eternity, that's what we're created for. So I pray that you'll join us in this quest, in this journey, to understand God's design of how we're to live on this earth. And I believe that if you will, you'll discover the joy that comes by having an eternal mindset. Thank you, and God bless.